Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me today to get a high-level overview about BIMrx MEP and BIMrx Core. We'll be looking at some of the updated workflows version 3.1 is added to our arsenal. Now, to put a face to the voice, my name is Ed, and I'm a Strategic Implementation Manager and Product Owner here at Microdesk. Before we get started with the demo, I do want to talk a little bit about what BIMrx is. We built BIMrx to enhance and simplify Revit in BIM 360. Each of the modules is purpose-built to allow you to get projects out the door faster and spend less time on those low-level tasks, much more time focused on design. BIMrx Core, MEP, and Fabrication are built to be a part of Revit, while BIMrx Cloud Manager is a standalone application. BIMrx is built to streamline the entire BIM project lifecycle, from views and model production to collaborating with stakeholders and project administration. Today, we're here to talk about BIMrx Core and MEP. Core is the foundation for all BIMrx products and is focused on project setup, model management, and documentation. BIMrx MEP is a suite of commands to help you model and manage your models quicker and easier. BIMrx automates those manual, repetitive tasks so your team can spend their time on the things that matter most. Now, I'm going to switch over to a live demo to show how some of these features will work. So, I'd like to set the story up here, right? If we take a look at the left, I've got a few views already set up, but I don't really have anything set up for those towers. That's because the architect just sent them to me. So generally, we might be making sheets as needed, but I'd like to tell you we can just get everything done all at once, just get it really easy, out of the way, nice and early. So when we do get that last minute SD set, we can just print it without a second thought at all. So if we take a look, we'll notice there's some scope boxes sitting here in the background that my architect has already made. Now, a big goal here is to not have to repeat work that other people have already done. So why don't we just go ahead and copy those from the architect? We'll see I'm able to very quickly take both of those towers, bring them both into my project. You'll also notice some color coding going on over here. Well, what that's telling me is that if the architect has maybe resized one of theirs, or maybe we have an internal employee who has errantly moved it, we can jump straight back to that scope box manager, let it know that we're looking at the architectural model, and it'll tell us that those items have fallen out of sync. I can click update, and it's going to move them back to exactly where they need to be. Really, really simple stuff. Now, once those scope boxes are in here, I'd really like to make some views to go for all those towers as well. So if I pop open the Sheet View Manager, I'm going to be able to do that all from within here. So if you take a look at the view set configuration settings, I can load in an Excel file and do this entirely from an Excel-based workflow that'll allow me to repeat this from project to project. So I've chosen a couple trades that I want to work with. I'm choosing the floors I want to work with, and I'm clicking apply. We'll see it's going to populate this window in the middle over here, telling me the prefix, the view name, and everything else about what I'm about to create. We'll notice it's giving me scope boxes, it's giving me view templates, it's creating everything I need. I'm going to click create, and if we follow across the bottom, see it created me 24 views in only a few seconds. Now, I don't want to just stop with those views, because for each of those views we just made, I'm also going to need to have a sheet as well. So if we jump to sheets, we'll see all of those sheets ready to be created from the same views, the same trades, the same floors, ready to go. And just like that, I can create those 24 sheets. Now, I'd like everyone to think, as I'm doing each of these steps, the manual process or your current process for creating these things. It's a lot of right-clicking, duplicating, creating new, and renaming. It's an incredibly lengthy process. Now, I'm going to close this out, and let's go ahead and open up one of those views so we can see something that's about to happen. Now, expanding out those HVAC floor plans, we see we've got all of those tower views that I just created. So jumping back to the Sheet View Manager, I don't want to just create overall plans. Really what I need is those individual tower plans, because there's two towers, not one giant floor. So we can actually use another Excel-based workflow to duplicate those views for me. So loading in that view duplication Excel sheet, we'll see that I've set it up for an A and B plan for each of the levels, giving me a tower scope box for each, not doing a view template because we're able to do this as a duplicate as dependent. Again, I'd really like you to think that a manual workflow of right-clicking, duplicate as dependent, renaming, and applying all of these different values for each view that we're about to create. I'm going to click create right now. And as we watch across the bottom, it's processing about 48 views in under 10 seconds, 6.21 seconds. Incredibly, incredibly fast. Again, I don't want to just stop here though, right? We've made them, we've gotten them, duplicated. I think we can do a little bit better. I think we can also place these views onto our sheets. So jumping in here, I'm going to click load and pull open a view placement Excel file as well. We take a look at the placement Excel file. We'll notice I have each of those plans called out, the towers I want on those plans, and I'm even giving them a location so that each individual one will look the same. I'm going to click create and let's talk a little bit more about what's going on here. So I've set that placement location up so that each sheet will be exactly the same, and not just each sheet, but each trade within the model, right? And because this is an Excel-based workflow, even if we had multiple models, we could use these same Excel files, loading them into multiple projects, using them over and over to just have perfect consistency across all of our trades. It's a very, very nice thing to have, and we're not doing anything extra. It just works that way. Now, again, I'd like you to think about the manual process for doing these things, right? We would have to open each of these views up, drag and drop each of the 2 views we want on that sheet, and then we would have to somehow manually align them to where we want them to be. It's an incredibly time-consuming process that BIMrx Core was able to handle in 43 seconds. I'm going to click close and let's take a look at one of those sheets. And there we have it. Those 2 views sitting right on the right-hand side, just like we asked it to place them. A very nice looking view. This is absolutely something that we could issue. So once I've set my project up, I don't really need that setup stuff anymore. I could issue a whole suite of drawings right now. But I think what I really need to do is jump in here and do a little bit more modeling, right? Not quite done with my modeling yet. Need to do a little bit more of that first. So let's take a look at some of the new modeling things that we brought in with BIMrx version 3.1. So just like all the other versions, we can go ahead and work almost entirely from a 3D view. Now I'm going to tile these together so we can see what's happening in 2D and in 3D at the same exact time. So I'm going to use the bloom command on this piece of equipment over here to give me extensions that I can work from on all sides. And we'll notice it's giving me an extension out for each of those pipes on the left there, right? Giving me something to work with, hydronic supplies and returns from both of these, as well as giving me that sanitary kick on the other side and those 2 supply and returns. Now, a really cool feature we've just added in, if we go take a look at BIMrx MEP and open up the bloom, is we can actually specify different system types if we want to. So if I don't want it to default to using miter, I can ask it to use something else instead. If I don't want to have it using supply air and I had another system available, I can do that. We'll see later when we start working with pipe work, maybe we'll want to change the sanitary around. So just remember this exists. We also have the ability, if you'd like to change the extension length, you can change it so you're not always getting 2-foot extensions. You can make that extension length whatever you would like it to be. So I've got that 2-foot extension coming out. Maybe I want to go to the 2D to drag this over. Maybe I want to do it in 3D. It's really up to me, right? But I'm just giving myself a little bit of a workspace to work with. And now I'd just like to show you guys some cool things that we have in here, right? Let's go ahead and say that I need to connect all of these items together. Well, let's take a look at some of the commands we have that will allow me to do that. Well, I have the align branch command. It's going to allow me to bring all of these up to the same height here, and then I can very quickly bring them together. So if we go take a look up top, I've got align branch. I can choose my main, then my run, and it's going to bring it right up. Now, I also have this, could absolutely keyboard shortcut these if I wanted to make it even quicker. Okay? So using that align branch command to bring all of these up, and then using the trim extend built into Revit to connect them all together. Takes a couple seconds, and that's all good to go. Now, an extra cool thing, even if those boots had come in the wrong direction, BIMrx MEP also has a flip multiple command, so we could flip these all at the same time, no more going one by one to make that happen. So I'm going to do another thing that's typically unheard of in a 3D view and make some copies of elements. I'm also going to wildly rotate this one with zero regard for what it's going to connect to, because I know BIMrx MEP is going to allow it to connect anyway. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the move connect commands. So I can use move connect to bring these items together and immediately get them connected. You'll notice tabbing through, it shows that full connection. Use move connect again on this middle item here. Bring that through, you'll see it's inheriting systems and everything. These are real connections, right? Now, what about that rotated one? Well, I can use move connect align to tell it, get rid of that rotation, rotate it so it connects properly, and we're good to go. Incredibly, incredibly fast. Now, in a little bit, we're going to take a look at some of the elbow commands as seen up here in a couple higher stakes situations. But I do want to remind you that all the commands we're viewing, these work on everything. So we can use the elbow commands on ductwork. We can use the move connect commands on conduit. It doesn't matter. These are all universal commands. So we've seen a little bit of that move connecting. We've seen a little bit of that bloom. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other nifty commands we've got. I'm jumping up here into this space. Let's go take a look at what we can do up here. Now, what I'm seeing is some stuff that's disconnected that probably shouldn't be, and some stuff that's clashing that probably shouldn't be. And if we look underground, we'll see some underground conduit that needs to get above ground. Let's go ahead and see how we can solve all of these problems. So zooming into this central portion here, let's go ahead and take a look at the route to command. Now, route to has been updated to make it even easier to connect multiple items together. So what I'm going to do here is display a typical design option workflow. Maybe I want to try out a few different bends to see which one's going to look the nicest when I actually go ahead and run these things together. And if it turns out I like 15 the most, awesome. I'm going to hit escape. I can control Z, 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 get back to all of those things. And I can use route to again. That's going to maintain that 15 for me. And now I can just give all of these that 15 degrees, right? Makes it very easy to try out multiple options and still know that you can connect them together very quickly afterwards. Now, we got that connected, but if we continue to follow this run, it just kind of ends. And why don't we go ahead and take a look at 2D? I'm going to show you one of my favorite things to do with these elbow commands. I'm a huge fan of using the elbow down command in a 2D view to just drop my conduit, drop my pipe, drop my ductwork right where it stands. And then I can use the built-in move commands to move these right up against whatever wall or other item it is that I'm working with. Makes it very, very easy to model and coordinate in those 2D and 3D spaces. So we'll see those sitting over here to the left. And if we take a look and rotate around, we'll notice that that underground pipe isn't really lined up to line up here. So we're actually going to have to do a 90 over, and then we're going to have to bend up to connect. Well, that is a built-in command with BIMrx MEP. We have this nifty kick 90 command that'll take care of this for us. So let's choose kick 90. All I need to do is choose the element that's going to have the 90, the element that's going to have a bend, and click that. We'll see it's using that same 15 degrees from earlier. That angle works. I'm going to just continue to use it. And like we saw, I can just click item after item, and it's going to make that connection for me. Again, hitting escape when I'm done closes out of the command, and I can continue doing whatever it is I want to do. Right? We're making it very easy to connect these elements together. Now, let's take a look at a couple other things we might need to do real quick. Let's clear a couple clashes. So if we take a look over here, maybe it's not so easy to see where the clash is in 3D. So why don't I take care of it in 2D instead? If I take a look, I see there's something going on over here, and I'd really like to route all of these around and just not worry about it. So what can I do? If I take a look, I can go ahead and use this reroute around command. So I'm actually going to use the pre-select option here. Go to MEP. We're going to use the reroute around, and that's going to allow me. I'm going to use a 45 degree here. That's going to allow me to push all those back. I can then use the align command to just make it look a little bit cleaner. Line all those up against a flat over there. Maybe they're up against a wall, something else, doesn't matter. And then they can break out and turn down after, right? Whatever you need to do, we're making it easier to do it. Now, that's getting us around something. What about if we need to get underneath something, right? Again, these all work in 2D or in 3D. It's whatever is going to be easiest for you. So why don't I do this one in 3D? I'm going to grab all of these conduit right here that need to get underneath that ductwork. We're going to jump right over to MEP, and we're going to use over under instead. I'm going to choose something on the left, something on the right, and I'm going to choose a bend that I think is going to work. I'm thinking 30 degrees sounds pretty good to me. I'm going to click OK, and we should see it bend directly underneath. All it takes is a couple seconds. If I want to try something else, again, just like Route 2, we can undo it and test out a few different design options. With all of these commands being this quick, this speedy, we can really dive into the design and not worry too much about the actual connections we're trying to make. So we've seen some cool routing, we've seen some cool stuff over here, but I'd like to show you something even cooler. Now, I think personally, my biggest bane when it comes to modeling is dealing with sanitary systems. So why don't we go take a look at how we can speed up some of this sanitary modeling? Let's do something cool, right? Let's do something extra cool. So I mentioned before we have some new additions to Bloom. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at what those bloom additions are doing. If I bloom out that piece of sanitary, we'll see that it's giving me a standard sanitary extension, even though I'm actually attempting to use drainage systems instead. So what I would actually like to do is undo that bloom. And let's go take a look at some of the bloom settings, because I could actually tell my pipe, you know what? I actually want you to use plumbing drainage, and I'd actually like it if you use the P drainage pipe type. So now when I bloom this, it's actually going to give me the correct information. I can then use that move connect align we saw earlier to just bring my P-trap over, and it works. I can then even bloom my P-trap out. And using one of the newer features to BIMrx, I can now pre-select when I go to use rotate fitting, and I can rotate an entire chunk of stuff all at the same time. So let's go use that rotate fitting command, choosing up here. And if I give this a 90-degree rotation, we'll see that it pops it over. I have RF keyboard shortcutted for rotate fitting. And if you go the wrong way, it's that simple to just flip it the other direction, right? We can do entire chunks at a time. It's really awesome stuff. And what do I mean by entire chunks? Well, we'll see soon enough. Now, continuing on with these workflows, right? What do I really need to do here? Well, I need to finish up the rest of this run and give these things something to connect into, right? So what am I looking at down here? You know, I'd probably like these to connect to the flat. So what do I need to do here? I need this to lower down to the correct height to connect together. We take a look, it's floating a little bit high. Now I'm going to show you something extra cool. I can go ahead and elbow up this, and I'm going to elbow right it, or elbow left it as well. Now it's extra cool. Using the new command we have here, when we use align branch, we can actually do a pre-select of align branch. So when I grab this entire chunk of stuff, and now I go up to MEP and I use the align branch command, and I choose the main down here and I choose this branch here, you'll notice it moved it all as a group. So we can actually align groups of elements, not just a single element. Now I'm going to undo this, and I'm going to use align branch with just these two elements. And I'd like you to see that that vertical piece is going to stay exactly where it is currently if we don't do the pre-select. So again, going up to that align branch, choosing the main down here, choosing that run, and you'll see it does an extension right here instead. We're giving you as many opportunities to design what you need to design as possible. So now that I've brought those down to an acceptable height, I can use trim to bring them together. I can go ahead and grab that fitting, extend it out. I'm going to bloom this one as well. I'm going to give it an elbow up, and there's my cleanup. That was incredibly easy, right? Incredibly easy. Now, same thing I can do over here. I want to get these connected. Well, align my branch together, bring it down, and I can connect them. But wait, Ed, you never put a slope on that. You're right, I didn't. Well, if we use align branch plus, we can cause it to inherit the slope for us. And it now has that 1/8 inch slope. So when I go ahead and do that connection, it is sloping in and everything is fine and dandy, right? Really nifty stuff. Now, let's see some other things we might need to do here, right? I've got more of this system to connect together. How else could we string some of these commands? If we take a look down here in the bottom left, I've got this little riser coming up off my main. Well, I could grab that. I can use rotate fitting here to come across the item over here. Maybe I want to rotate these down 45 degrees. I'm doing a 45-degree rotation here so that when these come together, I get that 60-degree bend dropping in. Now, what's incredibly tough to do is to move this vertically to line up with this so they actually make that connection. Well, just like we did over here, align branch pre-select is an incredibly powerful command. And it's going to allow me to grab this entire chunk of elements. And when I go ahead and I do this BIMrx MEP align branch, and I choose my branch and I choose this to align up to it, you'll notice it moved only in the Z axis. We are not editing any other axes, and it's moving it as a chunk so it all moves together, allowing me to create that perfect trim to corner connection with no issues whatsoever, right? Really awesome stuff, really powerful stuff. Now, let's keep going with it. I'm going to go ahead and drop down an extension over here. I'm going to make a copy of this little chunk of stuff over here. I'm going to make that, make a copy of this stuff over here. I'm going to move it kind of close. I don't know, because I don't care. I'm going to go ahead and let move connect and bring these together. Once those are brought together, I'm going to grab that chunk of stuff. I'm going to use rotate fitting on it. I'm going to bring it around 90 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and bloom that extension out. we'll notice because the other part was already sloped, we're getting that 1/8 inch slope over here as well. We take a look, that one's sitting a little bit above. Now I'm gonna lift it even higher above. I'd like this to be sitting relatively far up above so I can show you a brand new command we've included. So I'm gonna put this at about -1. Now what's that brand new command? If you've seen it, it's that roll into main. And all I need to do is select my main, select my run going to it, and bang, bang, it has made that connection for me. Now what's extra cool about roll in the main is we can string it together with some of those other commands to get even more complex shapes, right? I can grab that 45 it made, I can use rotate fitting, I can go right here, I can rotate it at that 45 degrees. Again, I can grab this entire chunk of stuff over here. I can use the align branch plus to bring the entire thing down to exactly where I need it, rather align branch normal. Line those up, and then I can use that trim to corner to bring these back together again. And I have a rolling offset with a 45-degree bend, right? We can make some incredibly complex shapes with only a few button clicks. It makes it that much easier to work with all of these elements. Now, it doesn't just stop with this 3D modeling. I do want to show you guys a little bit of that electrical modeling as well. So jumping down here into this space, I'd like to show you guys some of the stuff we can do with electrical and just a little bit of documentation and tagging at the same exact time. I'm going to swap to medium so we can actually see some of those tags pop open, right? So what do I mean by tagging? Well, if we jump into Core, we actually have some cool tag settings. If we open up those tag settings, I can actually load in a settings file. So what's that settings file? Well, I have some electrical fixtures that I need to get tagged over here. So opening up that electrical fixture tagging, clicking on it, we'll see that it's giving me a device and a panel tag. And all I have to do is select some elements, and it's going to place those tags down for me, right? Really, really nifty stuff. Imagine doing this across an entire sheet all at once, and your entire sheet has been annotated for you, right? Awesome stuff. We'll notice we can even edit the locations if we want to, and we've even given you some basic locations to start working from. So I've done some tagging, maybe we did the whole project, cool stuff. But maybe I need to edit some of my circuits. Well, if we take a look inside BIMrx MEP, we've got some really nifty circuit modifying commands. So what do I want to do? Well, maybe I want to add something to a circuit. Maybe I need to add this to this. Well, all I need to do is select the element I care about that is on the circuit I want, click add to circuit, choose another element, click finish, and it's been added to the circuit. Wow, no menu diving, no anything, no panels, it just works, right? Cool stuff. Well, we've got the equivalent for remove from circuit. So if I just wanted to get rid of something and I don't want it on any circuit whatsoever, oh, there we go. Let's just remove that off of the circuit. Good to go. Fine and dandy. Reconnect it to whatever you feel like, right? Now, I'm going to undo that. I do want to leave that connected. So I'd like to show you something cool that's going to happen next. So we also have this really nifty copy circuits command. So copy circuits is an incredibly, incredibly powerful tool when you have repeating floors. So copy circuits is asking us to go look in a elevation view. And if we go to an elevation view and we select a panel, we can go ahead and use the BIMrx MEP copy circuits command to take that panel and copy it from level to level and bring every connected element with it. And not only, guys, not only is it bringing every element, it is bringing them with their connections. So if we jump back up and take a look at that level 2, where I just copied this to, here are all of those items. If we jump straight back to Core, we do that same tag settings, right? There it is. I'm going to tag these so we can take a look. We get those same panels showing, right? Now, the one thing it did do, it maintained that panel name we saw on level 1. All I need to do to get a slightly different name is give it a slightly different name. So I name it -2. We see -2 showing up on all these. Jump back to level 1. Bang, bang. It's still saying 1BR panel, right? This is awesome stuff. We can copy entire data centers, level to level, bring it up. We could go through and do entire levels of hotels, right? This is an incredibly, incredibly powerful command. So we've seen a little bit of that documentation with tagging. We could tag some other stuff, or I can show you a little bit more documentation. So what's something we do deal with a lot of times? I think we deal with having to bring some random spec sheet someplace, get it on a sheet and print it out. So there's not a super easy way to do that out of the box. So what did we do? We made an easy way to do that. we've got the imprint command. So imprint is allowing us to load in, and I'm just going to click create new here. It's allowing me to load in Excel files, PDF files, whatever I really want. Can load it in here, choose the pages I want to have loaded, and it's going to create those for me on the sheet I'm looking at and just place them down. Now, what's really cool about Imprint is if I set these to auto update, when I open up my project, when anyone opens up Imprint, it's going to just update these from whatever the file is that's sitting outside Revit. So you can make updates to that file, set this to auto update, and just understand that your Revit project is always going to be up to date with whatever file is up to date, that you are linking in. Clicking close, and we'll see each of those 3 pages sitting right down here for me, ready to use. So I've made a bunch of sheets. I've added some settings. I've done a bunch of detailing. What's the last thing that really needs to go on? Well, maybe I want to get some revisions sent out. Maybe I want to set up some print sets. So maybe I decide that, floors 5, 6, and 7, maybe these are all part of a revision set. I can go ahead and assign them all to a revision set right here. Now, what's extra cool is if I have a bunch of revisions already assigned, I can even filter to only view the ones that I want. Once I filter, I can even grab them and right within the same window, create print sets for them. And if I've made some print sets, done some other stuff, I'm good to go. I can close right out of here. I could also go to my print set manager and view any other print sets I've created, like a BIMrx print set right here. Or if we jump to sequence 1, we'll see that I could go in here and I could choose even more sheets or views to add to this print set, right? It's incredibly powerful stuff. Now, why is that print set manager so powerful? Well, I'm about to tell you. One of the most amazing additions to BIMrx is the integration of Core and Cloud Manager. This allows for the export of PDFs and NWC files from the Revit model on daily, weekly, or monthly basis. Now, I just showed you how to create those print sets with BIMrx Core Revision Manager. With Cloud Manager Pro, we can take that print set and automate the export of PDFs, either on demand or on schedule. This integration opens up the possibilities for even more ways to automate your workflows. So this webinar is part of a series, and you should absolutely catch the Cloud Manager webinar. Now, let's just take a quick look at some of those time savings, right? Huge reduction in project setup, huge reduction in documentation, and really the modeling is going to speed up as much as you want it to speed up. The more elements you need to modify, the more time you're going to save with BIMrx. The real question is how much time are you wasting by not using it? I want to remind you that BIMrx includes even more incredible commands and features than the ones we just saw. They're there to automate project setup, model management, and documentation. I'm certain you benefit from not just one, but many of the other features listed here. And I hope you got a small taste of what BIMrx Core and MEP can do for your project teams. Now, I really appreciate everyone taking the time out of your day to learn about BIMrx MEP. For any more information on BIMrx, please visit the BIMrx or Microdesk website. Here you'll be able to view the products, schedule demos, and get in touch with the right people to help you get started with BIMrx. Now, just a reminder, this is part of a webinar series, so please check out the other webinars on BIMrx Fabrication, Cloud Manager, and Core. Now, that would conclude our session for today. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful day.